Ma. What's goody to the goddess and the gods, and what's popping to the people? And well, like we always do about this time. So I thought this would be interesting because if you following the pattern, then we getting somewhere. So it's definitely gonna be a deep night tonight. I did wanna let's deal with a few distractions. Hey, what the heck? We only human. So um distraction number one. This Jay-Z snubbing Lil Wayne for the Super Bowl thing. Um well the Super Bowl is a ritual. So let's just start there. Wayne has already had his Super Bowl ritual night. Um, they're bringing Kendrick into the inner fold, and that's the part that you all don't understand. And it's tough that we this far in the game, and y'all still don't get the game. You know that shirt, that hoodie hot. So I mean, I had to get y'all some of this action, but that we this far in the game and we still don't get the game. We have to understand this is a cult. The industry is a cult. And so, contrary to what you believe, sometimes y'all don't ask yourself the right questions. And I understand why. Because you too caught up with the answer that's already available for you. So, for instance, like we're literally now, what I'm about to say is an extremely unpopular opinion, and well, not most, but there's a fair amount of people gonna be offended. But it's kind of what I do. So anyway, let's do it. We live in a society where if you say the right thing and tell the truth, you can be ostracized, blackballed, humiliated, and unemployed. But if you're willing to carry on a facade and a lie, the limitations of your career is astronomical. So we reward the liar and condemn the truth teller on a societal level. Think I'm wrong? Why do they say blackball? Um, what makes a person get blackballed? When you why do they have fact checker in a free country? Talking about people dispensing misinformation. This is a free country. Allegedly, people have the right to say whatever the fuck they want to say. And other people have the right to believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. If the government was more upfront, people wouldn't be so easily swayed. So it's hypocritical to say this is the land of the free and home of the brave. But if you're brave and be honest, you risk your freedom. Well, that's no different than in other countries where they just flat out tell you, say something slick about us, we're going to do something to you. America just pretends that you have a free say. So, like, you have to think about that. We can take something simple about this situation. We're not going to get into detail, but we say this went on for 30 years. In order for this to work, you have to have tons of complicit people. for whatever reason. Won't got to get into it. But you need cooperation with a complicit public that is allowing a man, a habitual line stepper, publicly, privately, whatever the case may be. You need the masses to cooperate. So now we get on these social sites and tell something unknown that they consider a conspiracy, but we can post the evidence. You can post the evidence and they will hit you with a fact checker. Like they'll take an article that you have with the information on it, then they'll grab fact checker and say it's not true. Bro, the article is right here. The accolades of what I'm saying is right here. How the fuck are you gonna fact check something I already fact checked? But that shows you. So you have we talked about this like a week or two ago with the Candace Owens Ray J thing. Now, I used to think Candace Owens was this, but now the more I listen to her, she like a female Charleston White. They say the shit that nobody else is brave enough to say, and they say it harshly for shock value. They're aware of that. But shock value is ratings, and bigger than being ratings, because I don't want it to sound so superficial. What shock value does is force people to pay attention. Most people don't like to pay attention to shit. Shock value makes you pay attention. Most people are consumed in their own fucking universe. So, shock value deals with that. So now, when Candace Owens said that, so I can send you an invitation. It's damn, I don't be knowing. I didn't even see you up there, Kareem. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? It's down. Oh, here you go. I don't be knowing. Oh, this is it's general. I came in there. Dot. Beauty. But I think it's to be honest with you, I think it's lowercase because they be hating. General dot Beauty. I'm pretty sure this is it right here. I'm looking at Instagram. All right, so now okay, so back to Candace Owens. Candace Owens said that she thinks transgender is a mental disorder. Now, I'm aware that if I was a popular channel, I would be getting banned right now for saying this. I agree. It's the only aspect of life where you could do such a thing and be rewarded and acknowledged and understood. To decide that you would like to be something that you were not born as. And so they say homosexuals and transgender are born that way. Well, you're not born with a sexual preference. Babies don't think about sex. In order to be homosexual, you have to be sexually attracted to the opposite sex. That's a prerequisite. I know y'all like to throw all of these other things in here that are modernized that add to your argument. Okay, when you're done with that list of all those other things, you still have to have a sexual attraction to the same sex. So you can't be born homosexual because you can't be born with a sexual desire. Now, you can be born with a sex organ, which in the brilliant, wonderful design of the creator, the big show, the big time, the doggy dog, the one and true God understood puzzle piece. The male goes out, the female principle comes in. They fit the end. Now, so then people say, well, what about a transgender woman, which technically is a man who wants to be a woman? And so then they had the argument, well, it starts as a child. I've always felt this way. See, just because you start bending your discussion doesn't mean I bend my thought process. And what I mean by that is this. If we're saying that to be born a man, a male, and to desire to be the opposite of what you were born, we're saying something mentally traumatic has happened. And so this is a desire, but it doesn't change the reality to say, I've always felt this way. Okay, well, then you've always had this illness from whatever circumstances. And then you can only recall back so far. So at some point, whatever this behavior was, it got nurtured by an adult, which means the proper education wasn't given. The dysfunction was just nurtured. And what that usually means is the person who nurtures the dysfunction is generally somehow responsible for it. Something was going on with them that transcended to this child. And as opposed to having to deal with their own shit, then they are coddling and enabling the child. So I think that's a great argument to say that it's a mental illness. But now let's get to the point of this discussion. So um if we're talking about, well, let's look at what we're talking about. Okay, so now this fits right in to our discussion, because in order for you to feel comfortable doing something that goes against natural order, someone is nurturing, supporting, or initiating this thought process. So, what I mean is, in let's go to the 60s. You look at television in the 60s, and you see um, a lot of black and white mystery with the black butler, the black chauffeur. It's a lot of this um, in cinema. Uh, you're getting America is painting a picture. Now, this is only, I think, probably 10 years into the television. America is framing a thought process. Now, when most of the country is below the poverty level, they didn't have a middle class. It was lower class or you wasn't. So now, most people never left their neighborhood. Most people just get up and go to work. So only things you encounter are what you see at work on a day to day. The television brings you different cities, different countries into your living room. And so now, at some point, your subconscious grabs onto these concepts as a reality. So, like, it's the equivalent of knowing about the Miami nightlife, but you've never been there. But you can hold a discussion about it. Um, you could hold a discussion about Las Vegas, even if you've never been there. We know, like, for example, you go to when you look at the imagery of Las Vegas, you think about casinos, bright lights, all of this stuff going on, money movers and shakers, and all of that shit. Luxury suites, Caesar's Palace. You thinking all of this shit? Go to the end of the block and turn the corner, and it's the ghetto right there. Spray paint, gang banging. It's raggedy in the houses and shit. It's like, but if you've never been to Vegas, you wouldn't know that. So it's the way things are promoted to us. So subconsciously, you inherently think things go a certain way. Now, um, what we think as just natural, we don't understand what really goes into that. So, for instance, like, well, let's slowly for a second revisit the transgender thing for a second, because I want to make that point quick. Um, these this is being promoted now in every movie, and so as you start to see, the more that we can visually see it on television, the more you begin to visually see it in society. And then you say, well, those are the people that just were scared to be who they really are. No, you gave people an alternative to getting along and understanding themselves. So if you are a man who feels awkward um around women sexually, that doesn't mean you like men. This means you haven't had a man in your life, or more predominantly a man in your life, to show you what's the proper way to do that. Now, there could be exceptions to everything, but I think in society now it's dangerous because the alternative now exists. Before the alternative exists, you didn't really see it. So now that two females can be best friends and get into an argument with their guy. Now, they used to meet up, have a conversation, maybe have a drink, and at the end of the night, you tell her, girl, you love that man. Go back home to your man. I'm finna take my hard head ass home to mine too. Now it ends up people don't really even live with their man no more. It end up at one of their crib and they end up getting it in, like talking about fuck these niggas. And then they take it a step farther. They be then shot a video or a TikTok tongue kissing, popping bottles, throwing money, talking about fuck these niggas. Because that alternative exists. For example, we had a big thing where uh first men was manipulating, then women was manipulating. So then men start guarding themselves from financial manipulation from women. And then so the whole energy was, man, I don't be doing no tricking. That was the biggest thing. And then baby came along and said, it ain't tricking if you got it. That became the number one slogan. And the next thing you know, 100,000 in the club, all of this type of shit. But this was a propaganda piece because it doesn't even make sense. It ain't tricking if you got it. You can't trick unless you got it. So that's a nonsensical statement. But because it was made to seem cool by somebody that was publicly revered, it became the green light to do what? Do some tricking. But what was really going on? That's what he do. And so I'm gonna make it okay with the world. Everybody's got something to sell, whether it's conversation, personality, a moment, a thought process. Everybody is selling something from the moment you meet them. So now it's your job to figure out what that is and if you mind the product. We talked about, and his name was Edward Bernays, and we talked about that whole the cigarette campaign thing, and it's like, well, I'm gonna play something for y'all. I want y'all to see this how cigarettes is um a household thing now, and well, let's see. Let's do some quick little research before I just start saying things. I have a hunch, but let's look it up. Who smokes the most cigarettes? The most cigarettes. No, I don't care about which countries. Um, Men or women? Head of the world, no tobacco down when we examine pattern. Out of 3 men smoke. 1 out of 3 men smoke, and only 1 in 16 women smoke tobacco product on a daily or non-daily basis. 1 out of 3 men smoke, and only 1 in 16 women. That's crazy. See, that's why you look it up. I wouldn't have never thought that. I wouldn't have never thought that out of the. Yeah, I wouldn't have never thought that. So now, so 13% of women in the U.S. smoke compared to 17% men in the U.S. smoke. But now, you okay. So what I was saying is now you look at well, men were smoking publicly and maybe even privately before women. I'm pretty sure of that. Um, so now it became a time where it was considered unladylike to smoke, for women to smoke in public. And so when cigarettes first came out, they flopped. So they hired this propaganda expert, Edward Bernays, who is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And so he hired some young ladies to walk in the parade smoking. And just like that, overnight, cigarettes became part of the feminist movement. Cigarettes became what I say, uh liberation, torches of liberation, I think is what they was calling them. So now you were being femininely empowered to smoke in public. Now, and then this went on for a minute. And then when they had the public outcry about cancer and shit like that, they went and found their own little special doctors to go against that and ran a campaign on it saying the doctors say, but it was only a couple certain doctors that they picked. And it's crazy how I was watching the debate, well, from last night, but this morning, and talk about propaganda. Oh my goodness, this was Comedy Central at best. I mean, like, what I don't understand is how we fall for so much shit. Like, nobody seems to remember 2 years ago. Y'all said Kamala Harris was an idiot. She not black. She not for the people. She not that smart. Y'all been saying that her whole vice presidency. I don't know one memorable thing she's publicly done other than her chucks and pearls and something about having collard greens in the bathtub. I mean, I don't really know but Clyde seems to like her. But my thing is, where'd the idiot that nobody likes go? And I don't mean like I got a problem with y'all starting to like her. I mean, no, literally, where the not so smart person that used to get in front of the camera sound ditzy as hell and annoy us? What happened to her? Now all of a sudden, she's certain of herself. She's articulate. She's and I was looking in the comment section for something, and I went through tons of comments, and I didn't see it, which lets me know, like, oh my fucking goodness, we're asleep. How am I the only person that heard fucking Obama 2.0? She literally sounds like Obama's fucking sister. Like the way the way she delivers the whole spiel. It's Obama 2.0. They're about to feed us the same shit, which lets me know under Obama they was outwardly smiling, but undercover vicious as fuck. So we know what to look for. Now, my whole thing is, and I wanted to get into 9/11, but we're going to Clubhouse for that. I ain't gonna be able to really say all type of shit. So that's probably what'll end up happening. But what I did want to say is this: if it's, propaganda ain't even the word when you're listening to, like, neither one of them are answering the fucking questions. Every time Trump talked, they cutting him off. And like I know both of them fake, but I think it was crazy how they wasn't even trying to hide the dislike for Trump. So it was a biased ass platform. And I wonder if that was intentional. I mean, clearly. But uh, we'll see what happens. I didn't hear his response after the debate, but he definitely got his ass kicked. And he was speechless a couple of times. When the fuck is Trump ever speechless? That's how you know, like, this shit is uh, professional wrestling. This shit is WWE. Uh, but I brought it up because the presidential election is the biggest propaganda piece in America. They're every 4 years they start this shit every 3.5 years, and you get consumed by it. It's on every channel. It's debates. It's commercials, and the commercials be killing me. I feel like Cat Williams. Like I don't think y'all actually listen to the commercials like I do. And if both people are lying their ass off, and y'all don't seem to care, if if either one of them was actually guilty of what the other one is accusing them of, either they're both guilty or they both lying. Because this shit'll get you tried for treason. They're accusing each other of shit that is illegal against the American people. Every politician in these campaigns and these commercials against each other, they shooting rockets at each other, saying they doing all kind of illegal shit. And I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message. Like, yeah, it's a propaganda piece. It's to get you caught up in it, and we're gonna prove it, of course. But like I said, I'm gonna have to do most of this on Clubhouse because for one, I see y'all playing, and for two, uh, that's where I could really say what I need to say. But I need to. I was better off when I used to have my phone with the book. Uh, it should be on, but I don't be seeing it. So either way it go, um, there's when you think about propaganda, I think we think on a lower level than what I want to deal with. So, like for instance, professional sports. We're looking at the propaganda that will make you get into sports. No, let's talk about the propaganda of sports itself. Because if we have these coliseums, and we know the coliseums was where the gladiators fought, entertainment purposes. But what were they really doing? Distracting the people from what's really going on. Okay. So in order to distract the people from what's really going on, meaning to get them away from things that actually interest them, you have to promote the other things as being more important. So this is why you got all of these football commercials everywhere, basketball commercials everywhere. This is outwardly to get you to watch the sport and come to the games. Yeah, that's the outer layer. But the inner layer is to have you consumed by the concept of sports being important. So they use that as a propaganda piece to convince you that, hey, these things matter. All the holidays have sports commercials. So that lets you know that these two things matter. But what they really want to do is, because if you wasn't consumed by sports, what would your mind be doing? Because you Negroes know every game, all the stats, all the players, if they injured, if they not injured, the coaches, all of that shit. That take years and years and years of watching, observing, and mastering this thing. So, if you weren't doing that, what would your brain power be fixated on? It would have to do something. I'm not even suggesting I know what that something is. But what I am suggesting is they don't want to find out. They've already seen what it looks like with a society full of curious people. They don't want you curious. They want you already thinking you know what's going on. So if you already think you understand, why would you look at anything? So when people come to me all the time and say, why are people not doing this? Why are people not doing that? It's more complicated than that. How can our people do something they don't even understand is supposed to be happening? Most of us judging our judging everything by how we're currently doing in life. If we're doing good in life, then life is good. If we're doing bad in life, then life ain't that great. If we're somewhere in the middle, then it's cool. I know shit. It's some issues, but I'm doing me, and that's as far as we take it. We don't want to think about the past or analyze the future. We don't really concern ourselves with what's been done to us or what that turns into later. Because if you're looking at, okay, we can talk about government, and most people won't admit, governments be kind of wishy washy. So that's the people in power. It's rare that you're going to find a group of regular people just saying, like, yeah, I think the government's dope. Like, that's not really usually a thing. So universally, most regular people don't really necessarily care for their government, or they're at least aware of the fact that their government ain't always on the up and up, which means they've accepted it. So all the government has to do, since you've accepted the fact that they're not always on the up and up, then they can show you how dishonest they are in movies. As long as they give you a hero at the end, you'll forget all the rotten shit that they're confessing to in the middle. Because the movies are propaganda piece. So And we know that these movies have to get paid, have to get approved, is what I was trying to say, by the United States Army. Any movie having to do with any type of intelligence, anything military, anything with the police, anything with the government, any movie dealing with any of these topics has to be approved by the United States government. Which means when they show you certain shit in the movies where the government is doing rotten shit, they're approving you seeing that. So now all they got to do is give you fucking whatever white guy with muscles is important right now, put him on the screen in front of you, and let him shoot a couple bad guys, and y'all cool. You cheer, you watch the movie, you say it was dope, and you go home and do whatever it is you do with your life. But reality is, most of us know something ain't right. It is these other things that they put in front of us that make us get over it. So I'm going to go back here again with a young man desiring to be a young woman. When I say it didn't used to be like that, y'all say, well, certain people say, well, that's because they wasn't comfortable coming out. No, that's not what that means. That means, like I said before, the option wasn't available because the men of the era were more in tune with young men. So that shit wasn't flying. Now, it's funny that as incarcerations level skyrocket, meaning young men are fatherless, separation rate is high, divorce rate is high, baby mamas and baby daddies. It's during this era that young men decided to wear dresses and tight pants and man bags. The era when fathers are incarcerated and dysfunctional everything is being promoted everywhere. So you got to be able to connect the two things. So this is propaganda being pushed, and we're gonna get super happy into this because you got to look at what you don't understand is that there's a budget for this. See, it's not just me saying this. There's an actual department that specializes in these things, and there's a budget for it. So that makes it weird. Because why? Why is there an entire department in charge of propaganda? It's like, perfect example. We, for the last, wait, here we go again. I want to be, I want to be sure before I just speculate. Before I just speculate. How old is breakfast cereal? 1863. Jesus. James Caleb Jackson, a religiously conservative vegetarian who ran a medical sanitarium in Western New York, created a breakfast cereal from a graham flour dough that was dried and broken into shapes so hard they needed to be soaked in milk overnight. Damn. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, so uh, well, That's the top 9 best-selling cereals in America. Let's see here. Are you human? I would like to fucking think so. All right, this is too much. You're making my head hurt. Okay, so anyway, what I'm saying is we know about Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, Honey Nut Cheerios, um, Fruity Pebbles, all of these different cereals. And especially when you get to shit like Fruit Loops. I mean, like, this is literally morning sugar poison. We'll literally wake up for the last 100 years and poison our children before we send them off to be educated by strangers. And then can't figure out why they shoot up the goddamn school. But what I'm getting at is, if it's so blatantly obvious that a child shouldn't eat fucking Fruit Loops before they go to school, why is it such a common thing to give our child a big box of sugar and let them eat it for breakfast? Because it got promoted to us. The same thing with bacon and eggs. That's literally eggs. It's like fucking genocide on a fucking animal level. Like, we've taken the fucking hen, held her hostage, and forced her to repeatedly reproduce in a factory so we could steal the offspring and sell it. Like, this shit is fucking crazy. And it's just fucking normal to us. And eggs, pork, the unhealthiest meat down there in existence. And this got promoted to the American people as a healthy breakfast for decades. But we didn't used to do it. So obviously everything used to be a lot more healthy. So obviously somebody, somewhere, somehow got in there and changed the trajectory of what we as a whole consider a healthy breakfast. How did that happen? Because remember, most Americans never left the place they were born and raised at. So people didn't, it's not like if one small town decides to eat Fruit Loops, the world's going to catch on. No, they would have just been one small town eating Fruit Loops. Somebody pushed this on a global scale that this is the way to start the day. Now, when you look at the educational system, we already went over this. The Rockefellers came up with the educational system for labor. It wasn't so your child could go off to college and get football scholarships and all that shit. No. It was for the labor force. They needed kids to work, and they needed them to be smart while they was at work so they wasn't fucking up. So now you got a system where you feed your child a bowl of sugar, then you send them off to a stranger for 8 hours. And now kids are at school fighting, all kind of shit. And now, in this day and age, kids killing each other. But what are these children eating the night before and the morning of, before they go to school and wreak havoc, disagree, whatever the case may be? All of this statistically matters. But these are the slight things that we don't even think about. But they matter. If they didn't matter, they wouldn't have been done. We have to get in that mind frame. Nothing is happening for nothing. So if something didn't matter, it wouldn't have been done. If it didn't matter to inappropriately feed your children for breakfast, then they wouldn't have done it. There was a purpose behind it. If we can agree that Fruit Loops is horrible for breakfast, then we have to say, how did it become acceptable? It's the little things that we look over because we don't understand. For them, it's science. Before you ever seen Fruit Loops, the advertisement for it, everything was already put together. And then once they put it together, they did research, they did test studies on which colors they would choose for the Fruit Loops, the right amount of sugar for the desired effect. See, this is who they are. You don't think like that, so you don't think anybody else does. No, 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 no. They're going to be feeding all the children of America. Do you understand what kind of power that is? So, what can I accomplish by doing this? If I can get most children in America to do this, whatever this is, what can I gain from that? It's no coincidence that they have put so much effort into making sure that Disney is synonymous with children. And it's no coincidence that Disney is now and always has been a pedophile haven. When they're putting together their thing, what can they accomplish is always the thought of the day. It's never about you. And the fact of you getting the best end of things. It's always about you, but it never for you to get the best end of the situation. And to be honest with you, the more your situation feels like they really gave you something, the more you better look for what they took. Because every time they give, they take. And if they've given you something and you haven't realized what they've taken yet, it was something valuable and they ain't giving it back. We have to just understand what it is we are a part of. Imagination manipulation. They have learned from, not from a conspiratorial, but from a scientific aspect. They have learned exactly what to do with you and your thoughts. And they don't waste not 1 second without making sure they are completely, totally implementing whatever it is that they wanted when they set out to do the thing. They don't set out to do a thing without an end goal in mind. And they don't set out to do a thing without taking that end goal that's in mind and running it through a series of tests that will ensure the closest possibility to guaranteeing that things go the way they got it mapped out. And in case it doesn't, they even got a backdoor contingency plan that doesn't make them invisible, invincible, or unstoppable. It makes them thorough, which means we have to be thorough in our thinking, myself included. So this is, it's impossible to have this world that you all are thinking of. This world where things are exactly what they tell you on the news and things are exactly how you believe them to be. That world doesn't exist. Why would it? There's no benefit in everything being exactly how you see. So, with that being said, We are oh no, that's not what I was supposed to do. What the hell just happened? Oops. Whoopsie. Hold on. Put that back off, y'all. I hit the wrong sheet. Well, we at right. There we go. Wow, that's what I was trying to do. Conscious Conspiracy Cave, Clubhouse, and that's where we are headed. Or at least I think that's where I'm headed, y'all. Where is it? Where we at? All right, there we go. Knowledge is the only real power. Information is the only real currency. But the application of both is the route to divinity. I love y'all. I'm gone.